folks. What's happening? Hello. Thought I saw Vicky. Oh, all right. So people are starting to stream in. That's good. All right. Today I'm going with a different mic for you tech heads out there. I'm using a boom mic. It's right here. It's just off screen. You know, like a TV show or film does. All fancy like. Eh. So thanks for everybody who's coming in and joining. Hello, George. Hello, user SX8LK. There's more, but I'm too lazy for that. All right. So, oh, Vicky, you're back. Hello. Thought I saw you earlier. All right. So let me introduce the show. This is Yoddah Live. Today is Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. Thank you, Vicky, for the heart me. Appreciate that. And hello, Johnny. Thank you for tapping. Anita Taylor. Hello. Hawk. Hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As Shakespeare said in Sonnet 18, summer's lease hath all too short a date. I know it's still summer, technically, for another, 19 days or so? But, Labor Day is kind of the unofficial end of summer. I don't know why anybody would want to end summer unofficially or otherwise, but different strokes for different folks. Hello. Looks like Ray Spur. Hello, Ray Spur. Hello, Priscilla. As always, people ducking in and out. Welcome one and all to the folks that are in here and tapping already. Thank you. We're already over, what is it? 1,500? No, I'm looking at the wrong thing. 1,100. Almost at 1,200 taps. It's fantastic. Oh, we just hit 1,200. Look at that. Tap, tap, tap away. If you live in the South, you want it over. I suppose that means the summer. Well, maybe. Some people love hot weather, some people don't. Some people like humidity. Like I'm one of those people that loves heat and humidity. I'm not bothered by either. Yeah, when I was working and I was in a suit, that was a little annoying, but I just love summer so much that I don't care what I have to do to deal with it. But that's me. I'm just one guy, one talking monkey. That's it. Yeah, it definitely can be hard to breathe as it gets hot and humid, no doubt. And I'm sure there's other ailments that flare up for some people, and I'm just lucky I don't have them. The only thing I have is seasonal allergies, which basically go from like April to October. But everybody's situation is different, obviously. Let's see. So, Wait, all my technology is up and running except for one thing. It's the thing that I sometimes forget, but today I got it. Want to make sure everything is recording the way it's supposed to be. All right. So, as you can see, some of you can see this, the title of this episode is You at 15. And I have a feeling that I'll have to ask this question again. But I'll put it to you, Vicky, since you're here. And of course, if you want to come up and answer it, that's great. If you want to answer from the chat, that's fine too. But the question is, what advice would you give to yourself at 15 years old? Knowing what you know now, what would you say to the 15-year-old version of you? I could probably think of a lot of things, but I think that's an interesting question. And Vicky has accepted the invitation. Loading, loading. Hello, Vicky.
Hi,
How's
can
it
you hear me?
going? I can.
Oh, it's going pretty good. Yeah, oh
Excellent.
boy, that one's a loaded
Yeah,
question.
big question, right?
I would avoid two people like the plague. One was a person that I thought was my good friend who caused me irreparable mental harm
Wow.
to the point of, you know, and the other one is the man who became my husband, and I met him at 14.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would avoid both of those. I mean, yes, I wouldn't have my kids. I probably would have had them in some other way,
Right.
but oh boy, life, if we could go into adulthood with the knowledge that we have at 50, 60, it would be wonderful.
Yeah, I know that's that old saying, if I knew then what I know now, but that's the point of this is like, because, I speak to younger people. Um, I usually don't do it on purpose, but, when you're engaged in social media the way I am, you run into a lot of different people. And, you know, I got to, I got to impart some information onto them when I think it's appropriate. And so I find it useful to think about this kind of thing because it's like, well, what am I going to tell anyone who asks? Young, old, doesn't matter. But if the question is, what valuable lessons do you have to share with younger people or the younger version of yourself? Then, of course, there's lots of answers. But the very first things that spring to mind are, I find, the most interesting ones. So the person you discovered wasn't a friend. How would you prepare 15-year-old you to understand that? What would they look for to validate what you're telling them?
That's tough. I am a walking target for narcissists. And this individual, her name was Charlotte, and she was one. And, I bought into everything. She took me into the cool crowd and everything. And I am too easy to trust. That is my biggest flaw. I trust people
Perhaps,
too easily.
perhaps. But so, all that taken into consideration, how would you word that so that someone else would understand what to look for?
Um, just, oh, golly, watch how they act around other people and see if they act the same way around other people as they do around you.
Mm-hmm.
Because in this case, she was very different around other people than she was around me.
Interesting.
And I didn't see it initially. And it wasn't until a friend of mine pointed everything out to me down the road that, she was using me.
Right.
And I just, I think that you really just need to, there's the old adage of not judging a book by its cover, but you do need to read a few of the pages. And in this case, I should have read the pages more clearly, and just watched how she had interacted with other people.
That makes sense to
And
me.
it just, she reached out to my brother. My brother ran into her about 2 or 3 years ago and asked after me. And I was like, oh, God, please, Jean, don't give her my number,
Mm,
because that is the last person I want to talk to.
yeah.
I don't even, I can't bring myself to forgive what she did to me.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point, and we'll circle back to that. My friends know never to give anybody my number for any reason. Like, you got to check with me. Always check with me first, and then you can give somebody my number if I say it's okay. Good evening, Soaring Above Tyranny. Excellent username. I like that. So, I was the recipient of forgiveness one time in a very important way, because when I was 19, I convinced a slightly younger woman who was 18 to get an AB because, I was under the impression that that was the smart move. And ironically, a year and a half later, my son was born with another woman who I had married. But I carried that with me for a long time, and then we reconnected on another social media platform, and I was all apologetic, reaching out to her and all that kind of stuff, and she forgave me, and then I read a quote about forgiveness, and I don't remember the exact wording, but basically the meaning that I took from the quote is that forgiveness, in the sense of forgiving someone else, is not for them, it's for you. Right? Now, you don't have to tell the other person that they are forgiven. You're not obligated to do that. It's just a way for you to release something in you that's negative energy. And I find it very helpful. I have also forgiven people, and I found that it was very helpful for me to do that, because in some cases I was carrying this bitterness around for a long time. Like, you get angry and bitter and resentful, and I heard resentment described as the idea that you're going to drink poison and the other person's going to pass away. Because that's what all those negative feelings are. They're just corrosive, poisonous things that live inside you that you're giving permission to live inside you. So, could be food for thought.
That's true. And I did recently talk to my psychologist about her, because I do have a history of self harm, and that was the first time. And so it's something that we're working on, and maybe I will come to where I can forgive her as far as within me.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't want, fortunately, I have 500 miles,
Yeah.
because I live in Arkansas, and I presume she still lives in Houston.
Right.
For all I know, she could live down the block and I wouldn't even know it.
Right. Well, like I said, you're not obligated to voice this to the other person. It's strictly for you. When I look at it from that sense, like, when my mother was coming to the end, I flew to see her, and I only had one real agenda aside from just like, this is the last time I'm going to see my mother on earth, and I wanted to let her know that I was okay and that I forgave her for everything, because there's a long list of what I had to forgive her for, and that it was okay for her to go if she needed to go. And it was only about a week and a half later that she went. And and I've heard from every single nurse that they have seen people hang in there just so that they can say a proper goodbye to someone. Even if they can't talk, that one person that they want to see before they go, that very often people hang in for that. But that, of course, that's another story. But in that case again, I wasn't forgiving her for her. I mean, if she felt good about that, if she felt some relief from that, that's wonderful. I'll never know. She was not able to respond to me, but I knew that I had to say that out loud so that she could hear me. So, when at a certain point, I asked everybody to leave the room, and that's what I did. And it was genuine. It was my way just to release all that stuff, because I mean, I did a good job of overcoming the damage that she did, and I did that by the age of 50. So I'm not walking around wounded at all, but I just felt like this would be an appropriate thing for me to do. And it's a case by case thing. If there are other people which I've just forgiven in my mind because I don't want to talk to them again. you know so either way, I think it's a powerful thing. It's a powerful step to take. So I'm glad you're talking about it with your psychologist.
Yeah, it's funny. I had been in therapy for years. I first started going to therapy after my mother passed away, and my mother was very narcissistic, and I had issues to deal with on that. And then I stopped for a number of years. Well, I went off and on, through the other ordeals, but and then I stopped for a number of years, and then whenever my partner was diagnosed with frontal temporal dementia, and I started really struggling with everything involved with that and trying to take care of him and take care of my son and still work. And I ended up starting to see another psychologist, and
Hmm.
there is an actual diagnostic term of caregiver syndrome. And that was one of my diagnoses, which was really bizarre. But I am a carer.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of goes with the whole being empathic. And, as I just suck up everybody's whatever, their pain, their emotions, everything.
Yeah, I feel that. Welcome back, Zaza. Good to see you. So, whatever choices we make in life. By the way, I'm trying a new mic thing. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you
Okay,
fine.
good. It's a boom mic that's out of the frame because I just wanted to experiment today. But anyway, everything in life comes at a price. Everything, even the good things. Everything in life comes at a price. And, you know, if we're uh, walled off from people to protect ourselves, that comes at a price. If we're empathic and feel everything at a deep level, that comes at a price. Even though I think being empathic is a good thing, but I understand that there's still a price for it. And there's something that Dave Chappelle's father told him before Chappelle went to Hollywood. And I love this quote, and I think these are good words to live by. He said, "Name your price before you go, and never pay a penny above that." And I think that's deep. I think that's a really solid way to look at life. Just understand that whatever I do, if I'm in pursuit of my dreams, if I'm sitting at home on the couch, it doesn't matter. Any choice I make comes with a price. Billy Joel said, "You pay for your satisfaction somewhere along the line." And I quote that often because I truly, truly believe that, you know. So, yeah, I say that anyone who is empathetic, be empathetic because that's genuine. That's who you are. And why would you fight your genuine self? You
Oh
know?
gosh, yeah. I mean, it is a gift, and most of the time it is a very good thing. There are times that it is a curse,
Yeah.
and I have to kind of step back. It's like I've stepped back from in-person events like yesterday's music festival here locally because I just could not stand the negativity. Living in the armpit of the South, you get all the people that, oh, it's challenging, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. And often where we live is something we didn't choose. You're just born into a certain country, a certain area of the country, and for a lot of people, that's all they're ever going to know. And again, there's a price for that, and then there's people that travel all over the place, and then there's a price for that. You know, so in America we're taught to envy. We look at other people and think that their life is better than ours, but I wouldn't trade lives with anyone because along with whatever you think is good about that life, you're going to have to take the bad of it. Like I used to,
oh
uh,
yeah.
I still have a great deal of fondness for John Travolta as just his accomplishments as a professional, but I know the price that he's paid. While he was filming Saturday Night Fever, the role that would make him a star, his girlfriend was passing away in New York. And he was in California and he
Oh
had to
wow.
fly back and forth during the filming. And when you look at that film and you see him looking drawn out and exhausted, that's not acting. That's how he was, right? And then he marries a woman that was also an actress, and they had a child, and I think they had a daughter too. But their son Jet was the firstborn, and 17 years later, he had a convulsion while he was in the bath and drowned. Right, and then shortly after that, or a few years later, I think timelines are weird these days, but at some point, then his wonderful wife passed away too.
Yeah.
So, I don't care how much money you have in the bank, that's not going to console you, you
Oh
know.
no.
And even
No.
something that's not quite as heavy as that, like we mentioned Kelsey Grammer last week, and he's had a horrifying life. What happened to his sister. I think at a certain point, I think I remember it might have been him or one of his significant others had IBS, which is a miserable thing to deal with, so I don't want anybody else's life, man. I've become an expert in my life, and I haven't gotten the
Oh,
results that I wanted to, but I've only got enough bandwidth to want my life.
oh, I know. I've got enough problems with mine. I don't need anybody else's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
A friend
some
of
of those
mine was,
people are suffering in silence. You and some of them not so silent. Like there's been a few times where singers have offed themselves, and then I'm like, did you read the lyrics of this guy's songs that he's been singing for years? Like he's been telling us he's been suffering, just nobody was paying attention because we were busy
oh, I know.
consuming their art. But yeah, some of these folks, man, it happens almost every year that someone very wealthy, very famous decides that their time is up. Happens every year, practically. And it's like the same thing. Like I remember DJ Quick, who was Ellen DeGeneres's DJ on her show. And I never really watched the show, but I got to, after he decided to leave the planet, I looked back on some of his social media stuff. He looked happy. He was dancing with his wife. He had, he had it all. He had the cars, the house, the beautiful wife, the beautiful children, and, fame and fortune and all that other stuff. And he was still unhappy and decided to check out.
Well, like Robin Williams,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
I don't disagree with Robin Williams' choice because he was diagnosed with Louis B dementia, and he knew that that was going to overtake him because that's a powerful ailment, and
Oh,
he
yeah.
just didn't want to go that way, so he chose his own exit. I'm not advocating for it, but I understand it.
It's a cousin to frontal temporal dementia.
Yeah,
And, of course, the frontal temporal is very much more behavior oriented, much
yeah.
like what Dump does.
I'm convinced
And,
that Dump has it. I'm absolutely convinced of it.
you know,
He's got other stuff too. He's
I
got the
was,
congestive stuff, that's almost 100% certain. And whatever else he has going on, probably hypertension. But um, he, I don't think there's a way you could convince me that he does not have frontotemporal dementia.
yeah, I was with him for 18 years, and I seriously think probably, even though he was only diagnosed with it probably for the last 7 years, I think he had it at least 6 more of those years based upon looking back at his behaviors, which,
Yeah,
you know, it's just
it's a slow
how it
erosion,
is.
man. That's one of those things that, like, on one hand, I don't want to leave the earth because I'm fond of living. But on the other hand, Father Time is undefeated, and sometimes the end is really undignified. And of course that's my own judgment. But like when I saw my mother the last time, it was very unpleasant to me because, when you are a child who has a parent that has that much influence over your life, one way or the other, that person looms large in your life. And I have memories of looking up and holding her hand, and her being taller than me until I reached a certain age. And so to see her all shriveled up and almost half the size that she used to be was disheartening. But, that's life. That's life. And she lived to 92. She was healthy for most of it. So, it's a toss up, you know. The Stones sang "What a Drag It Is Growing Old," but like, what's the alternative? you know.
Very true. My mom lived till she was 75 and died from lung cancer. My dad made it till 85 and he had dementia. So,
Mm,
I'm 60, almost 63. So my brother is 70, almost 75, and my sister is 73. So, kind of, we're getting on up there in the years.
yeah. Yeah, my sister passed, I think, 9 years ago, and she was 8 years older than me. So, okay, so I was 52. So she was 60 when she went. And it's weird because the women in my family are pretty sturdy. They tend to live long lives. The men are the opposite. We drop early. So, I don't
Yeah.
know how many birthdays I have in front of me. I just focus on today. I'd love to live a long life because I promised my ex-wife that I would celebrate her 100th birthday. So that means that I have to live till at least 102.
Oh my goodness. Well, there you go.
So that's my goal. So as I like to joke, I'm going to live forever, or DIE trying.
Well, or have your cremains at her party,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. And that's what it'll be.
But yeah.
All right, I got to do a quick shout out to a couple of people. So Danny, I didn't speak to Danny today. I know he shared videos with me earlier, but I didn't speak to him, and now he's not here, so I have to check on him. And he didn't reply to my text, so or maybe he did. Wait, did he? Hold on. Oh, there we go. He did. Okay, he just got back to me. Good. I was about to send out the bat signal. All right, so he's not feeling well, so um, I'm glad he's resting.
I popped into AC's live for just a couple minutes and I heard everybody saying, I'm sorry you feel bad, Grandpa Danny. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, yeah, but we look out for him. Whenever if I don't hear from him for too long, I always start asking around just to see if anyone's spoken to him and all that stuff. So, and his body's been through far worse than what my body's been through. So he's just he's living every one of those 75 years.
Yeah, he's a miracle.
Something like it. You know, I think of him as a water bear. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Is that one of those? You see it under a slide.
It's a tiny organism, and it looks kind of like a bear. And they have tried everything to get rid of this thing. They've burned it. They've exposed it to freezing temperatures. They've exposed it to radiation. They've even shot it into space. And for some reason, the thing doesn't end. So I think of Danny as a water bear.
There you go.
Yeah. Because to me, uh, it's all just a persistent rumor that we have to end. It's a very, consistent, persistent rumor, but that's all it is. And the reason I call it that, which is it's actually what I call my podcast, is because of Shakespeare. In particular, Hamlet, when he does his amazing "To Be or Not to Be" soliloquy, when he is considering ending things for himself, he refers to death as the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, which was the beautiful way of saying we can't ask anyone about it because they never come back to ask them. Not that we know of anyway, right? You know, if they come back in 1,000 years, you know, and we're not there to see it, we won't know about it. So because of Shakespeare, I decided that DEATH is a persistent rumor. Impartial
You know, that
observer
just,
is a water bearer parasite. I don't think so, but it's possible. I don't remember it being described as such, but I haven't looked at it in a while. It's something that I heard about like 30 years ago. I'm sorry, Vicky, you were saying?
there is a Star Trek movie that is not as well received. I think it was like Star Trek 5 or something, and it was the undiscovered
Mm-hmm.
country and that just made it all boom, just like the eureka bulb just
Yeah,
went
it all
off.
makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people, like I notice, um, okay, you mentioned Robin Williams, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, what was one of his films called? What Dreams May Come. That's also from Hamlet's soliloquy, To Be or Not to Be. When he
Correct.
was saying, you know, that what if it's like sleep? And then he went, oh, but to sleep, perchance to dream. And in that dream of death, what dreams may come. And in that sleep of death, what dreams may come. You know, and it puzzles the will, is what he said. Because what he was saying is, yeah, I think that the end is like sleeping, but what if just like sleep, you have bad dreams? Boy, then that's not better, is it? Right? That's why I love that speech, because he's arguing the merits of staying or going, to be or not to be, right? And
True.
that's where that film, What Dreams May Come, gets its title from. Is the same speech that I get, you know, the idea of the persistent rumor.
Yeah, more people need to think about that whenever it's that time. Had I thought about that whenever I was younger, it would maybe made more sense.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't have wisdom until you have wisdom. You know, like, and age and wisdom don't automatically go together. I have felt this way my whole life because I saw a lot of foolish older people. You know, and right now I refer to them as Congress and Senate. Those are a bunch of older people that act foolish all the time, right? So, you
Or
know,
just Washington, D.C. in
yeah,
general right
yeah, it's a
now,
silly place.
with the exception of the veterans.
Yeah, but you know, even in real life, you know, I would see these guys that were 50 hanging out in clubs with their shirt half open and chains hanging out, and you know, trying to score street candy in the bathroom and shit. And it's like, you're still doing this shit, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, fools come in all ages, but you know, hopefully, as you get older, it's sort of like the antithesis of what Muhammad Ali said, which was, if you're the same at 50 as you were at 20, you've wasted 30 years. Right? I love that quote because I've done my best to improve as time has gone on. That's one of my main quests in life because, you know, I was never good at making money. I made some, but never a lot. I have no aptitude for business, apparently, or at least I haven't had an aptitude for business so far. Maybe that'll change. But, you know, the one thing that I can do is just try to be the best version of myself every day. And I know that seems like real fucking Hallmark Cardi, but I really believe it's true. You know, I think that, you know, it's actually what Pat Riley taught professional athletes at the highest levels of competition. He said, just try to be 1% better every month, and at the end of the year, you'll be 12% better, you know? And I believe that. I believe in, you know, incremental change. I mean, if you can make a big change really quickly, great. But if you can't, working on it over time, I think has its merits.
Well, it's like I constantly am trying to increase my knowledge on my skills on what I do at work, and I rather hesitantly dipped my toes into AI, but I have found that it is useful in so far as it saves me from hours of Google searches,
Yeah.
and trying to, make sense out of Microsoft data sheets. It's like, just give me the bullet points. I want to know what this means,
Right.
or give me the steps, and it's wonderful,
Yeah.
and so I have, it's been rather pleasant. Now the people that are choosing to use it for, like therapy, it's like I'm scrolling through here and I saw this one thing about talking about childhood trauma, and so I thought, okay, I'm going to answer these questions, and it took you to an AI thing, and I was like, good grief, there's no way I'm going to trust AI with my mental health.
Right. But some people do, you know. Hey, Penelope, good to see you. Thank you for the heart me. You know, one of my team members in Penelope's agency, Melly, she has Mental Health Mondays, and it's a really good thing. And the only reason I caught up to it is because Danny was off yesterday, so I was able to explore other live shows, and I was so happy to have come across that because it's literally what I do every day. You know, mental health, self improvement, call it whatever you want to call it. I'm always I'm always attempting to find distinctions that will make me better. I want to be a better friend. I want to be a better podcaster, better at live shows. I just want to be better. I want to improve all the time. And I'm lucky I have a lot of resources to do that because, when the clock strikes 12 tonight, I'll be celebrating 38 years being clean and sober. So I've been doing this quite a long time. And for some people, if they don't have the resources I have, or they might not have friends, which I count as resources, um, or maybe they're just too private or ashamed to share these things publicly, I think, could be a suitable alternative. I don't know if you could program AI well enough to be as good as a therapist because, in my coaching, a lot of it has to do with my intuition. And I don't think we figured out how to program intuition into AI yet, but maybe one day. But even as it stands right now, just the fact that people can say something as a prompt and have AI respond to them. And I think a lot of AI is now like Audible, so you can actually hear a voice speaking back to you. And for some people, that's the only option that they have. But I understand your
Right.
hesitance, though. I totally get that because I'm the same way. By the way, like I don't do any online polls unless I answer jokingly. I don't do any facial recognition stuff where they're like, "Oh, how will you look 25 years from now?" Because I know they're literally just gathering facial recognition data doing that. And so I don't want to give them that. So I don't do those things. So I understand being cautious about these things, but I also acknowledge that some people just don't have any other outlet for that.
Yeah. it, I had a doctor's appointment today that I have to have a procedure that I'm not looking forward to. And I was on my way back to work afterwards, and I tried to call my sister at home and on her cell phone, and I couldn't get reach her. And I realized that I really didn't have anybody else to call. And it really made me sad. You know, my daughter works, and, she works in management for Philip Morris USA. And so I mean, international. So I really couldn't just call her, if it's not an emergency. And it wasn't an emergency, and so I just like, it made me realize, because I've always been one of those people that has just a very close circle of people, and it really brought home that point.
Yeah. I am extremely fortunate in that area, but DJ Creeper says AI is already lying to humans when given a prompt that doesn't reward it. It's only a matter of time. I don't understand given a prompt that doesn't reward it. I don't quite get that, but I know like you can change the programming. I mean, Muskrat did it with Grok. You know, he didn't like that Grok was being honest and giving answers that made him and the Republican Party and Dump look bad. So he went ahead and reprogrammed it, and now it's gone all neo-Schnazi, right? So I understand, that, like I said, there's a downside to everything. There's a price to pay for all of this technology. In Wall-E, that animated film, they showed humans in the future just like in chairs, enormous mounds of flesh. They never walk. Everything is done for them. And so it's like, well, okay, everything is done for you, and that's wonderful, but um, you're obviously not getting exercise. You're not stimulating your body, you're not stimulating your mind. So there's a price for everything. Just like when freezers were introduced as part of being, your refrigerator and freezer, the ice delivery guy lost his job. When word processors became a thing, the typewriter repair person lost his job. It sucks. It's an awful reality. And AI is another advancement in technology that has caused people to lose their jobs. So it's just, there's always a trade-off. There's always a trade-off, Someone asked me something. You were at 15. What does that mean? Well, excellent question, since I've been talking almost an hour now and there's more people in here. Basically, my question is, and I invite anybody to come up or answer in the chat, which I think will be harder. I think it would be near impossible to do this via chat. But the question is, what advice would you give yourself at 15? Knowing what you know now, if you had a chance to go back in time and give advice to your 15-year-old self, what advice would you give? Impartial Observer says, count the cost on everything, the number one commandment. Impartial Observer says, run far and fast. I'd love to know what that means to you. Stephen Martin says, get away from these people. Stephen, if you want to come up and explain what that means more, I'd love to hear it. And anybody else, anybody's invited to come up. We haven't spoken to Stephen in a minute, so this is good. How you doing, Stephen?
Hey, brother, I'm doing good. How you doing, Yoda?
I'm above ground another day, so I'm a happy camper. So were you here for the question that I just laid out?
No, I literally
Okay,
walked in when you
gotcha.
said, "What advice would you give
Oh
to your
yeah, so
15-year-old self?"
that is the question. Yeah, given what you know now, what advice would you give to your 15-year-old self?
Okay.
And I'd
So
suggest
I'm
going
somebody.
with the first thing. Go with the first thing that comes to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. No. How do I shape it though? Because I do want it to be elegant.
Sure.
Um. Uh. Other people's problems are not your problems.
There you go.
Focus on,
Okay.
but focus on the delights that are happening in your life, and stop trying to help fix other people's problems.
So now this might be in line with what Vicky was talking about, because she was talking about the uh, the challenges that go along with the wonderful stuff of being an empath. And it sounds like maybe that's the same area.
You know, I heard a wonderful yet brutal challenge to my belief around about empathy um, on TikTok about 3 years ago, and I had maybe it was about 5 years ago. That actually made me reckon with what the actual problem was,
Mm-hmm.
which is, are you an empath or are you just the child of an alcoholic who never got therapy?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because there is a
And
hypervigilant kind of thing that passes as empathic. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and when I tell you that cut me to the bone, and I was like, actually, that might be there. That might be there a lot. Hypervigilance
Yeah.
is something that I've lived with my whole life. It's the
Yeah.
reason why, when I was diagnosed with leukemia, that the greater threat to my health was my mental health
Sure.
than the actual cancer itself.
Yeah.
Um, because living in a hypervigilant state of mind not only makes you susceptible to not taking care of the needs of your own home and trying to help other people out more than you do yourself, to the point of exhaustion.
Yeah.
um you get gratification from people wanting to come to you because of your keen sense of strategy and ability to handle problems.
Right. Yeah. But what I find is that sometimes when people talk about this stuff, and I don't know if it's the case here, but they're coming from a place of low self-esteem and just trying to please people around them, and sometimes in that process they neglect themselves. And I am the opposite of that, in that I believe in the metaphor and the literal interpretation of what they tell you on an airplane every time they go over the safety ideas, right? Always put the mask on yourself before you try to help anyone else. And that I take to mean I have to prioritize myself. Now, prioritizing yourself is not the same as being selfish. Being selfish is a negative, destructive thing. But saying, I need to make sure that my well is full before I attempt to give anybody water. And some people don't like that about me, but luckily, I don't give a fuck. Right? I need to be, and I encourage everybody to be this way. I'm not asking anyone to do anything for me. All I'm telling you is I'm going to take care of myself first. And I don't mind suffering some discomfort or whatever in helping someone else, but I don't want to truly suffer just because I need to help somebody, you know? And you have to just know what's true about yourself in order to manage that.
And if you're a person who is going through the like that, what we just laid out, like if you're also surrounded by people who are only takers, it's going to be forever before you get out of
But
this.
also remember, if you're surrounded by people who are takers, you had a hand in that.
Yep.
Okay.
Fair.
Right. So it's like, and
I was putting it to
Vicky,
the
I'm
mindset
gonna
of a
I'm gonna get to
50-year-old.
your question in a moment, Vicky, because I like that question. So when I was 26 years old, I had had 5 relationships at that point, and they were all train wrecks, right? And I said to myself, because now I had been 3 years into self development, and I said, okay, are these women crazy? Yes, that's undeniable. But the real question is, why do I keep inviting them into my life? And then I did a year of celibacy so that I could focus on my development without being distracted because, you know, trying to get laid takes up a lot of energy, both mentally and physically. So I was like, let me take that out of the equation so that I can reorient myself to myself and reorient myself to women. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, because what I learned about myself and about women, and it ain't a long list, it's just a couple of things, but they were so impactful that it serves me to this day to have done that. So, Vicky, the question is, how do you know? How do you know what exactly?
I was talking with the Oracle. He had, or the Oracle had said that a lot of people are calling people narcissists that aren't narcissists and claiming to be empaths.
Yeah, yeah. Well, also, yeah, the word narcissist is terribly overused. Okay, there are.
And so,
I mean, technically speaking, um, the only people that are qualified to use that word are people who work in mental health, people who are either psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever it is, people that are trained to uncover the characteristics of narcissism. But it became a buzzword. I've heard women say, every boyfriend I've had has been a narcissist. I'm like, that's almost statistically impossible. Right? So it's just a thing where, like the DSM-5 has 9 characteristics that indicate someone is a narcissist. And according to them, you have to have at least 5 of the characteristics to even be considered a narcissist. And then it gets a little bit more complicated after that. The Oracle, welcome. How you doing?
Hey, good evening. Thank you for letting me on.
Of
Yes,
course.
one thing that I would like to say is, from COVID, you had a lot of people kind of locked down with their partners. So they got to see their true colors, and a lot of them claimed that they were narcissists. Not saying that they aren't, but somebody that's selfish and a jerk doesn't make them have narcissistic personality disorder.
Right, right. Yeah,
And the same
that's my
thing.
point. It just became a buzzword that became overused.
Exactly. And then the thing that happened is, because I was dealing with this community with hundreds of people from TikTok for a while before I discontinued my other account. But the people were claiming, well, okay, if I was with that person and they're a narcissist, I must be an empath. That's not the case.
Well, that's a ridiculous conclusion.
okay,
Yeah.
I see your point.
Yeah.
So
yeah, those two things are not linked.
most people have empathy
Not at
that
all.
aren't
Yeah.
of the cluster B personality disorders.
Yeah.
And if you have empathy, it doesn't make you an empath.
Right.
So here,
Exactly.
most serial killers are, you could say, antisocial personality, narcissistic personality disorder, right? But
Yeah.
not all people with narcissistic personality disorder are serial killers. Same thing. It's like,
Right.
same thing. If you're an empathic and caring person, it depends on what your childhood was. And these people with narcissistic personality disorder will take advantage of that depending on how much information you give them. If you tell them you came from a childhood with a lot of trauma and dysfunction and drugs and stuff, they will use that.
We have to say schmugs on TikTok, unfortunately. So yeah.
All right.
No, you're 100% right. It's just like, people that have oppositional defiance disorder. It doesn't mean that they're gigantic assholes through and through. It just means that they react a certain way to authority,
Yes. And then coming back to the 15-year-old, like the only thing, I wouldn't change anything in my life because of, all the bad things I learned a lot from. But
Mhm.
one thing for sure that I did learn is that take people for who they are. Don't make them to be something other. So if they show you their true colors, take that and sit with that. Don't give them the benefit of the doubt, painting them something other than what they are. And don't try to fix or change anybody. No, nobody gave us that job. We give that to ourselves. And that makes you usually stay in a toxic relationship a lot longer than you should have.
Sure.
Oh, that is so true.
Yeah, I had a relationship that was probably good for 2 weeks that lasted 4.5 years. So I get that. So yeah, I haven't answered my own question.
another
So
one?
go ahead.
Holden Caulfield from The Catcher in the Rye is not a good role model.
Right. Yeah, that's why somehow everyone that goes on a spree has read that book. But yeah, so for me, I used to listen to older people a lot. I was always a people watcher anyway, but I was fascinated by older people because I understood that they had experiences that I didn't have. And the way that I knew that is because their conversation was so much different than the conversations that I was having as a child, right? And I used to pay a lot of attention to what they said. So one of the things that I understood, at least intellectually, at an early age, by 15, was that like time flies. Like it really does go by fast. Like I have a 40-year-old son, and that just seems ridiculous to me. How did that possibly happen? you know, but time marches on, man. I mean, I remember the instant he came into the world and he fit in my 2 hands. Now he's 6'4", he towers over me. So time flies, and I think what I would, the best piece of information that I might give myself, among a few things, is like, it's going to be okay. You're going to survive everything that life throws at you, because that's something that I didn't know, and as I grew older and I faced certain situations, sometimes I thought that this could be the end, and I survived, and so, because I mean, nature has been trying to get rid of me for quite some time. I was born with a heart murmur. The doctor told my mother I'd never be an athlete. Luckily, she never told me that, because I was an athlete for most of my life. And then I had sleep apnea. Then I had a brain tumor. Then I had to have a heart stent put in because one of my valves was like 85% shut down. So, modern science has enabled me to stick around much longer than I would have. So now I don't take anything for granted. That's why when people ask me how I'm doing, usually the first thing I say is I'm above ground in another day, because that is not guaranteed to anyone. Even no matter how confidently we are in our calendar, it doesn't mean we're going to be there for it. Like I sincerely believe that everyone who was cohabitating with another person on the morning of 9/11, as they left the house, they more than likely said something to the effect of, "I'll see you later." Right? And almost 3,000 of them were wrong about that. So we're not guaranteed the next moment. So I think it's important to just take in the fact that we're here now. I was telling someone earlier today, it's like the past is written in stone. It can't be changed. All we have is a bunch of unorganized memories, and some of them are very inaccurate, but we have just a catalog of our life's events, which we refer to as the past, and the future literally doesn't exist. That's just a thing we say. Like if you tell someone, "I'll see you tomorrow," the next day, it's today. So there is no real tomorrow. It's just a word we made up to signify something, So I don't take it for granted that I'm here right now.
Another thing that I wish I had when I was 15 that I didn't get until probably actually a little bit more into my early 20s. I started doing yoga. This is besides the point. I started doing yoga, and I had this yoga teacher here in Los Angeles at Runyon Canyon. They have free yoga classes in the park.
Oh, nice.
And I had this similar to Yoga for the People in New York. I had this one teacher who was just so kind, so patient, and her practice was so enveloped by teaching patience and listening to your breath.
Mm.
And her ability to walk me through poses by refocusing my mind on my breath gave me a lot of strength, not just physically, but mentally. And I wish they would teach this almost like a class in to children and like high schoolers and
Well,
adolescents.
they do in some places. They just called it mindfulness.
Yeah, but like actually like really reinforcing like how to focus on your breathing in order to help regulate your emotions. Because when I got sick, I have the word breathe on my wrist right now on it as a tattoo. And when I'm really going through it, like I look at that tattoo and I really focus on that, my in breath and my out breath, my my woosah, if you will. But I really wish, like at 15, like if I had people older adults talking to me about how important breathing is, and whether that's through sports or through exercise or through challenging emotions. Like I just wish this was like a foundational educational material for myself at that age.
I agree. I mean, yoga is one of the oldest sciences known to man. And the unfortunate thing is that it would be really easy to just teach it to everybody, but America's not really concerned with the individual. They just want your taxes. We're just batteries in the matrix in America, And it's funny. There was this one guy, head of a big insurance company, who got in a car accident, and as part of his recovery, turned to yoga. And he implemented it in his company. And guess what happened? A dramatic reduction in sick days, a dramatic increase in productivity. Right?
Yes.
And why? Simply because you're getting in touch with yourself. You're breathing in a way that fills up your lungs completely instead of the very shallow way that people normally breathe. And almost every discipline, from Navy SEALs to martial arts to underwater stuff, is all focused on breathing. Singing is like completely wrapped around singing. Around breathing. It's completely wrapped around it. Like the best singers, aside from, the work they did to develop their voice, they developed their breath control as well. And that makes a huge difference. Yeah, Michael Jackson, I saw Michael Jackson live twice, and he breathed like a baby. Meaning if you watch an infant laying there, you just see their stomach going up and down as they breathe, right? And that's how he would breathe on stage. He was running around for every fucking song, and this was before auto-tune and all that bullshit. So he was out there just doing it, right? And he never like interrupted what he was saying for his breath. He was just constantly breathing at a steady pace, and then when he would finish a song, you would really see his stomach pumping up and down, but you wouldn't see his chest heaving, and he was doing that on purpose. He was doing that to fill his lungs as completely as possible. So,
You know,
it's
my yoga
something.
teacher. I'm sorry. My yoga teacher. One of her. Because you're on the yoga mat for an hour and a half, but how do you make that part of your routine? She goes, you can do yoga anywhere. She
Hmm.
goes, it's not about actually stretching your muscles or your body. Yoga just means breathing.
Hmm.
And she put it in our minds, because we would hang around with her, and she would, she was just so wise and just so gentle about everything. And she said, you live in Los Angeles. If you really want to take your practice somewhere, do your practice in traffic. How frustrating LA traffic is. See if you can find your breath so that you can achieve mindfulness
Yeah.
when you're in traffic, to not overstimulate, overheat, don't get angry at other cars, let a
Yeah.
car in front of you, and make that part of your breathing practice. And
Yeah.
that blew my mind, and it really worked for a long
Yeah.
while.
That's what Zen revolves around. Also, the Oracle wrote earlier that you were a yoga instructor, correct? Yoga
Yeah, since
teacher.
2010.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
And is
and
there
I've
one particular yoga that you do?
well, there's a yoga's been kind of the real meaning has been changed here. Everybody, when they talk about yoga, they're talking about hatha yoga, which has to do with asanas, which is the physical practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yoga, there's other types of yoga. You have karma yoga, that's the yoga of selfless service.
Like
You have
pranayama,
you have well, pranayama is still part of hatha yoga.
right, which is just the breathing part.
It's the physical body. Yeah, you have jnana yoga, which is
Mhm.
the yoga of knowledge. You could say philosophy if you want to. You could say bhakti yoga. That's the yoga of devotion to God, and it doesn't matter who it is. If it's Jesus, or whatever, those are all fine. And
Well,
then
in
you
India,
have
they had like 1,000 to choose from, so why not?
yeah. So and then hatha yoga is what we've been introduced mostly here with the pranayama, with the breathing, and with the physical practice. So with yoga, you're trying to go from the most gross thing, which is the physical body, to the most subtle thing. And the breath ties all that together. And the one thing I want to tie together intentionally is what when I came into this live, you're talking about pretty much technology, right?
Hmm.
And then you went into wanting to be around, when you were a kid, you want to be around adults, right? And then we're talking about breathing and pausing. So if you tie all those three things together, that's one thing that's missing now, right? Everybody's obsessed with technology where they don't spend time with older people. Like in the villages, the older people were really respected because they had the wisdom, right? And the wisdom is the experience plus the knowledge.
Right.
And this is what people are losing out on, thinking that they're going to get it from chat GBT and all that stuff. It's like you want to experience life through life and being around people. And then
Yeah.
also with the technology, everybody's so triggered where everybody's quick to respond with anger and everything and take everything personally, where it's like, just breathe and pause for a second. You might be misinterpreting what they say, especially if it's reading through a text message, right? That's
Oh,
why it's
yeah.
like pausing is so important, because there's a disconnect when you don't hear the person's tone of voice, their pace,
Yeah.
all these things.
I very often
So
ask people, is this what you meant to say? Because this is what I got out of what you just said. And very often they say, oh, no, that's not what I meant at all.
yes, and I've had that.
And that's what
Somebody,
I did.
yeah, and I didn't take it personally, because how would you know what I'm saying through a random text on a
Right.
screen on TikTok?
Yeah. 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 I learned early on, because my first computer was in 98. And I learned very early on that sarcasm does not translate well in the written word.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even when you try to tell people that it's sarcasm, they
Sometimes
still
they
don't get
still,
it.
yeah. Yeah, I like what I do now and have been doing since around 98, 99 is if I'm going to say something that I think is funny, I put a smiley face at the end of it just so people know this is what my intention was. You might not think it's funny, but at least you understand I was trying to be funny. And some people have ignored that.
I usually put, blah, 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 parentheses, sarcasm,
Right.
So they at least know that I was being sarcastic.
Right.
Lack of context can always act like a blunt force instrument.
Oh yeah. Like I refuse to have arguments over text. That's just dumb. I don't even like having conversations over text. To me, text is just like, are we still getting together at 8? That's what text is for. It's not for telling my fucking life story.
That's what it was meant for. Are we still on? Yes. 8:00? Oh, no. Right. Can you do 8:30? Right. Okay. It wasn't meant to sit for hours typing when you could get through that in 5 minutes.
Yeah. And I agree with you also that, like, now they're saying go out and touch grass, and it's the same idea. Like, just live life. You got to get out and live life, because I don't care what you believe, whether you believe in Darwinism, whether you believe in theology or anything else. Nobody fucking knows. Okay, nobody knows what happens after this, right? And as Billy Joel said in Shades of Grey, the only people I fear are those who never have doubt. So people that tell me, oh, I know what happens in the afterlife, I'm just going to tell them to shut the fuck up. Because it's like the same thing as people that call themselves life coach. I'm like, shut up. What do you mean? You've mastered life? Is that what you're telling me? Get the fuck out of here.
Every time I scroll through and I'm looking and I see somebody that says so-and-so life coach, I just laugh.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I think of what you say.
Yeah,
and it's completely
absurd.
Coaches on here. There's a lot of coaches on here. It's like, oh, are you dealing with a narcissist? I dealt with one on here who was actually a psychopath, and everybody thought he was a good guy and he was making a ton of money. And the person is a documented con artist because there's news articles about him.
There was a particular day in November last year when a lot of people who follow me on some of the other apps were having a lot of mental health crisis. And because I'm an outspoken advocate in a certain field, they came to me looking for advice, and I'm not qualified at all to be giving people advice. And so I always let them know that when they're in the middle of a crisis to seek help from a professional. But I will always offer to tell them, going back to your point about touching grass, going outside in fresh air and taking a couple of deep breaths always seems to have a huge impact for me. But always qualifying that with, I am not a professional,
right?
But this is what I do.
Yeah, when I coach someone, on our first consultation, I let everybody know I have no certificates, I have no degrees, I have no diplomas. What I have is half a lifetime of experience dealing with this kind of stuff. Like, I know how to manage my emotions, so that's what I'm willing to teach other people how to do through coaching, right? I don't give relationship advice. I certainly don't give weight loss advice. I'm a fat fuck. Who would listen to me? I don't, and I don't pretend to be what I'm not. Like I don't want to stand next to expensive cars and take photos to give people the impression that I have money. I'll tell people straight out, I can't help you get rich because I don't know how to do that. What I can do is help you feel okay with being poor. I know how to do that. I know how to be happy and poor.
My qualifications extend to, I know how I can help calm you down for a moment and then point you in the right direction of where you should go.
That's it. Sometimes that's the best help.
Exactly.
It's like, sometimes the best thing someone can do for you is dial 911 for you. You don't have to be the doctor. You can just dial fucking 911 to make sure that the medics show up. So yeah, it's like, but people have to be humble about that shit. And when I look at coaches online, I laugh too, Vicky, and it's mostly because some of the shit that they say is so fucking goofy, and like, especially these man coaches, those red pill coaches. Oh, we're gonna teach women how to be this, and they have to serve
Servile.
men, and we have to be leaders, and da da da. And I'm like, I could have gotten this information on the back of a cereal box. I don't need you for this, or I
Yeah.
could just watch Animal House or some goofy film like that. You're giving shitty advice, and these red pill guys, they're actually ruining the lives of a lot of men, because instead of focusing on getting better for themselves, they focus on how much women have ruined their life. And it's like,
Can I comment on that? Can I comment on that for a second?
absolutely. Hey, Steve, welcome. Thank you. The People's Sick Day is doing a raid on my live. I love it. So yes, please comment on that.
Anybody who's going to give you advice and about how to not look at the world with big eyes and wonder about things and try and sell you certainty, those people are ripping you off and are trying to make your world a lot smaller, because half of the fun of living life is the discovery of new things. And when people try and tell you that there's one really good way to do all of this, they're just con artists.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I just put up a post about a dating coach, a very famous dating coach, that charges dudes. This is a female dating coach that charges men $8,000 an hour to learn how to date, which is like telling me you have to teach me how to shit. Like, you don't need to learn how to date. No one needs to teach you how to date. It's ridiculous, right? If you come to me, I can teach you how to be dateable, right? I could tell you the things that you're doing wrong in your pursuit of a relationship, but really, dating coach, and almost every single dating coach that I see online, virtually without variation, is telling you the dumbest shit you can imagine, and just making it sound a certain way and presenting themselves in a certain way so that you become envious. And then, very often you find out that their real life is completely different from what they're presenting.
Shambles, usually.
Yeah, it's a mess. And yeah, they're making a ton of money, good for them, but they're living a lie. Like, I know a dude that I happen to like this guy, so I won't mention his name, but I know that one of the things he does is that he'll stand in front of our mutual friend's really expensive car and take photos acting like it's his car. You know?
Right.
And I know a lot of people that's this desperate need to create some kind of facade. And it's like, nah, I tell people one thing with regard to how I approach dating, essentially, is that just be your authentic self. I never send a representative on my dates because it's a no-win situation. If they don't like your representative, they never got a chance to meet you. If they do like your representative, they might be disappointed when they meet you, right? And the real you's going to come out eventually. I know this because I dated a lot of crazy women, and they usually can't do more than 30 days of covering up their crazy. And then their crazy comes out, And so whoever you are authentically is going to come out eventually. So why not just introduce your authentic self from the start? And then the attitude is take it or leave it, Here I am.
Because of all these magazines, I don't know if it was 20 years ago or more, but there was a book called Why Men Love Bitches. It's just like, yeah.
Oh my God.
And it's just like, what? And then, I was a personal trainer for a long time. I have several books out, but some of the women at the gym were like, oh yeah, I'm reading this. I go, you're an amazing person. Why do you want to act like that? It's like, well, that's what men like. I go, who wrote the book? A woman.
Right.
I'm like, how does she know what men like?
Yeah.
It makes no sense at all.
Yeah, that's like deer teaching bear how to hunt them. That's absurd.
Exactly. It's just insanity. And then people will do that. And it's just like, okay, so now I didn't even meet you. I met the angry version of you, and I don't want that. And it's like, well, I like you. It's like, well, I don't like you. Well, it's like, that's not how I am. I go, so why couldn't you be yourself? And
Right.
even what you just said, Chris Rock said it. He goes, when you date somebody, he goes, you don't meet them, you meet their representative.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Chris
heard a
Rock
really
also
great-
said something brilliant that I love. I'll change the word orgasm to finish. He said, just because he finishes with you doesn't mean he finished because of you.
Oh man.
I did hear some good advice on flirting this last weekend
Interesting.
that I thought that was gentle, because some younger guys might not know how to flirt or what flirting looks like, but it was talk about all of the fun activities you did last weekend with somebody, and that
Yeah.
is always approachable, non-threatening, and flirty.
Yeah, that's a good strategy. I like
I
that.
think that's
You know,
lovely.
And I'll tell you what flirting is not. It's not dick pics. I don't understand
Oh, Lord.
a man who goes for the lowest percentage idea of how to attract a woman. Because fellas, let me just share a secret that I think is obvious. By the time she sees it, she's already agreed to have it inside her. She doesn't need to see it before that. Don't worry about it.
It's a good point. I'm not sure how that adapts to the game community, with how we trade them like Pokemon cards, but
That's funny. Who I was disgusted by was Steve Harvey when he wrote a book supposedly telling women how to be ladies. First of all, you're a man. Shut up. You don't have a place in this conversation. And I'm very consistent with this. I tell women all the time, you cannot teach a boy how to be a man, just like I can't teach a girl how to be a woman. Okay? You can teach them a lot of stuff and a lot of wonderful stuff, but you have to be honest about your limitations. So already off the bat, a dude writing a book telling women how to behave so that they could be more attractive to men, shut up. Right? Well, what he said in the book was disgusting. He basically turned women into commodities. He's like, when I was working for the car company, I didn't get my benefits for 3 months. So you got to make a man. And I'm like, you are comparing a woman to a corporation? What the fuck is wrong with you? But he gives tons of bad advice. That's just him.
a ton of it.
Did you remember?
Yes.
Well, everybody knows what VH1 is, right?
Sure.
Yes.
Right. It was like the soft version of MTV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a show called PUA, and that stood for the Pickup Artist.
Oh
And
yeah,
these-
I remember that.
And what they were teaching, because I study psychology and I'm interested in all that stuff, where it's like what they were teaching these guys to do was not be their authentic self
Right.
and run a script that was what you do as a narcissist.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everything was love
They
bombing.
were
and
using
bullshit.
neuro-linguistic programming to hack people's
Yes.
brains. And
Yes. And
I get it, but it's, some people say all is fair in love and WAR. I get that too. But if the unfortunate thing for men is that we have to approach a one-night stand, which I've never had, but I'm assuming this. We have to approach a one-night stand the same way that we would approach marrying a woman. Like the beginning phases are all the same to us. And so I just say, just let her know who you are. Let her make an informed choice, because it's a two-way street. I know just because I'm a male mammal, and most male mammals do the pursuing of the female, I know that I have to impress you first. And I have no problem with that. That's the way nature seems to have planned it out. And who the fuck am I to argue with millions of years of evolution? Okay? I'm a talking monkey on my best day. Okay? So, just after you're doing your thing as the person who has to impress the female, if she's impressed with you, great. But in my mind, okay, now it's your turn. Now you got to impress me because we have to choose each other. This is not a one-way street. And when I've given advice to guys, they've done very well with it, because it's all about authenticity. There's no tricks involved. There's just an awareness of the minor differences between men and women, because there's not that many. There's not that many significant differences between us. It's like the differences between a pitcher and a catcher. At the end of the day, they're both working for the same thing, which is to win the game, but they have different skills. They literally face in opposite directions, so they have a different perspective of the game. And that's men and women. And nobody's mad at pitchers and catchers. I don't know why people are mad that men and women are different.
Definitely not mad at the catchers.
Ah,
Sorry, Yoda.
that's why Steven's up here.
That's
He
what he
has the same
said.
sense of humor as I do.
You got a good mixture.
You
going
never
on in the
you
back.
never have to apologize for saying something funny.
But the funny thing is, coming back to I know when I was younger, a lot of guys who had nice cars but lived at home. So the girl was like, "Oh, look at his car." It's like, and then it's like, "Shh, we got to be quiet. My parents are sleeping." It's like, "What do you mean you don't live alone?" And then on the other end too, it depends on what you're looking for. With the gay community, dick pics are very important for them.
Fair enough. I mean,
Right?
look, if you're the paradigm shifts when it's the same gender. Not that much, but some, and that's a fair
Not
point.
yet. I agree with that. I agree with that assessment.
Because like I illustrated this a long time ago. This occurred to me when I was like in my early 20s. I remember saying to dudes, I was like, here's one way to understand the difference between men and women. A woman could walk into a bar and say to 100 men individually, "Do you want to bang me?" And 99% of those men, if not 100, will say yes. And if a man walks into a bar and says it to 100 women, he'll likely be arrested. All right? So this is just one of the differences. Men are ready to rock and roll at all times. Women are gatekeepers, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Traffic man, what's going on, buddy?
Good evening. How is everybody doing tonight?
I
It's
myself am
peachy.
doing wonderfully. I'm glad you're here. How are you?
Not too bad. Dealing with work.
Ah,
As usual.
more emergencies have emerged.
No, just clearing out oops tickets for the evening so I don't have a 97 of them tomorrow morning.
Gotcha. All right. So, giving up a little
But I
bit
have been
of
enjoying
time
the
here to
conversation.
get some time there. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So, the question that was asked, which is why the title is You at 15, is what advice would you give to your 15-year-old self, knowing what you know now, at the age that you are, and I believe you're 39, right?
40.
40. Okay.
Yep.
So you just turned 40 recently, right?
No, actually, I'll be 41 here at the end of the month.
Damn it. So I'm way off. Anyway, so
That's all good.
you're slightly older than my son then. So as a 40-year-old man, what advice would you impart? I know it's probably a long list, but what comes to mind first about what you would tell yourself at 15?
Do better in school.
Oh,
That's kind of a multi-layer onion there. I was doing well in school, but I got in with like a bad crowd for a moment, and then at the time, the school system was more about student development than they were about education. So I was still getting A's, but they saw me hanging out with these people, kind of a thing, and so they had put me in different classes, and I would have, I'd definitely kick myself in the butt for that. Also the big thing with me that I know now is stop judging yourself 24/7. Stop
that's a
it.
good one.
It's stupid.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, since the odds of your birth are astronomical, looking in the mirror and being disappointed is a waste of time. Jessica, how you
It
doing?
sure is.
I'm well. How are you, Yoda?
I am excellent. Looks like someone else is trying to come in. Let's see who that is. Who's down there? Signal Man. I want Signal Man. Let me introduce you to Traffic Man. Traffic Man meet Signal Man. Signal Man, how are you?
I'm well, sir.
Excellent. How long have you been listening to the conversation?
About 10 minutes.
Okay. So you heard my question. What advice would you give to your 15-year-old self?
I did hear that question. And
Excellent.
the advice I would give is ignore the bullies and be what you want to be in life.
Nice. That sounds like excellent advice. Jessica, same question.
Oh man. Seek help. Honestly, I feel like had I sought the help that I really needed at that time, that many things in my life would have turned out much differently. Um, and I didn't. I was, the angsty teenager who just bottled everything up, and it exacerbated the problem in many ways. So, yeah, I think that would be my number one big thing is like seek the help that you need.
That's excellent. That's very good advice. Yeah, because especially for men, we are oriented to be rugged individualists, and that's just dumb. I understand that we have to have a certain exterior because a lot is expected of us, and especially when, we are almost automatically put in the role of protector. And whether anybody agrees with that or not is irrelevant because that's how it is, right? So we have to orient ourselves differently. But I think being that we live in a dysfunctional society, people push that idea too far. Like that's part of the reason why mental health is such an issue in America is because the country is so dysfunctional that it wants to act like mental health is not a thing, or if it is a thing, it's a weakness. Like it's just dumb. It's just people have mental health challenges. Like what's the mystery about that?
You're absolutely right. Men seem to be born into this machoism, this jocularity, and we need to shed that. You need to get in touch with your feelings, and there's nothing wrong with being a humanitarian. Nothing at all.
Absolutely. I'll tell you
To me, that's what
one.
makes you a man.
Yeah, one very fortunate circumstance of my life is that the guys that I hung out with were very much like me, slightly different variations of my personality. And what was good about that is that we had a great time all the time because we found the same shit funny, but also we would cry with each other. Like if something hurt us, whether it was a girl or a circumstance or whatever it was, we would be there. We never made fun of somebody for crying. We always supported that dude no matter what. And I had my turn in the chair many times. And, so I didn't grow up with all that macho bullshit. I saw it. I was aware of it, but I knew that there was an alternative to that.
It's funny you say that because I was just getting ready to follow up on that with it's okay to cry. It's okay to be a man and cry and show your emotions. That's what makes you human.
I could barely get through a day without crying, and I'm not being funny. Like I cry all the time because I earlier I was watching a video on another platform of young people in their 30s hearing like 70s rock bands for the first time. And one of the performances was the Kennedy Center Honors in 2012, where Heart did Stairway to Heaven for the band, right? That was sitting in the balcony. And I mean, the tears were just streaming down my face. Because Ann Wilson is one of the greatest singers ever. Period.
The greatest singer.
Right?
Absolutely.
And that song, and listen to this. Not only was the band there, minus, of course, John Bonham, John Bonham's son was playing the drums.
Nice.
Yeah, Ann Wilson has one of the greatest female vocalist voices of all time.
Yeah. And even now, even in 2025, she can run circles around women that are half her age. Her voice is astonishing.
Right next to Mavis Staples.
Oh, man, I'm so glad you mentioned Mavis. There was a song. This dude has a weird name. I'm going to have to look it up. Hold on.
My favorite song of hers is I'll Take You There.
Oh, yeah, from the Staple Singers. Yeah. Okay, so Nina cried.
I'm well versed in female vocalist.
Okay. Damn it. Hold on. Fucking autocorrect.
You know who I'd like to see take on Ann Wilson's lyrics is Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah, Kelly's amazing, and so is Pink. They were actually
Yeah.
on together. Pink was on her show.
I love
Forget
that.
about it. And by the way,
episode.
Hart was on Kelly's show also. Kelly can sing
They
anything.
were?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kelly can sing anything. So there's
Yeah.
this artist named Hosier, and he did a song called Nina Cried Power. Nina Cried Power, featuring Mavis Staples. And Mavis was 80 fucking years old when she recorded this. And she blew the fucking doors off that song. So she's amazing. She's an amazing singer. I'm so glad
Haley
you mentioned her
Williams
because I
also,
sometimes
another one.
forget
Oh yeah,
to throw her in. Who's the other one you just said?
Haley Williams.
Haley Williams is an amazing vocalist. She's phenomenal. But I'm also a big fan of Hosier. I love Hosier.
Yeah,
yeah,
he has very moody and beautiful songs. Nina Cried Power made me cry because there's a lyric in it that says, "Rattle your chains if you love being free."
Ooh.
I'm gonna
If you
go
Yikes.
like Hosier, I think you might also like Alex Warren.
Alex Warren. I don't
Good
know
night,
if I know
Oracle.
Alex Warren.
He sings that song "Ordinary."
I'll have to look him up.
The angels
Alex
up in the
Warren.
clouds are jealous, knowing we
Warren.
found something so out of the ordinary.
All right. It's now I have it on my save to watch later list. Thank you.
And watch the version of the song that puts the lyrics up because it's actually such a beautiful song about following
I'm all
love.
about lyrics. Like I've actually done a couple of pieces, a couple on TikTok and a couple on another audio platform, where I just read the lyrics of a song. Like I think
He
the
has this
first one I
lyric in
did
it.
that was called the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. An amazing song about a true story, a true wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald that happened the year before, and it's an amazing piece of writing. Just I love lyrics. That's why I love Billy Joel so much. And I'm sorry, you were
Yeah.
saying what?
He
That
has
was
this
more
one
than the
lyric in
right
the
choice.
song that goes, "We will make the mundane our masterpiece," and I was just like, so
That's a
taken
beautiful
by that.
idea. That's poetry. If you also want poetry, just read Rush lyrics.
Oh,
Rush
yeah.
lyrics are amazing. All the world's indeed a stage. We are merely players, performers, and portrayers, each another's audience outside the gilded cage. That was written in fucking 1980, way before social media, and nailed it perfectly.
There's a band that I'm a pretty big fan of. Some people love them, some people hate them, but they have a lyric in one of their songs that kind of reminds me of what we were just talking about, the advice we would give each other, and my advice of seek help. Don't just be angsty and bottle it up. They have this lyric. It's no amount of self-sought fury will bring back the glory of innocence.
Oh,
What's the
Yeah.
band?
Yeah.
They're called Sleep Token.
Wow.
Some people love them, some people hate them. They are kind of a genre of their own. In one song they could have everything from jazz to harder rock to R&B, like all in one song, but it kind of flows very seamlessly and they make it work. And I also just really like the singer's voice. But
Can you say
Do you
that
happen
line
to know
again?
the name of the song?
yes, the name of this of that song, that's from their song "Take Me Back to Eden."
Okay, got it. I have that queued up.
That was
Can you
that
repeat that
was
line?
Yeah, it's no amount of self-sought fury will bring back the glory of innocence.
Oh, wow.
that
That's
was
just
Gordon
that's a
Lightfoot, by
that's
the
a
The
way.
hook
stunning
of that
lyric.
song. Yeah, the hook of that song is because he has such a way of forming words. Of course, we all know the phrase like a moth to the flame. The way that they use that in their song is my, those eyes like fire. I'm a winged insect. You're a funeral pyre.
Ooh.
See
Yeah, when
that
it comes
what
to
I love it when people see this is the beauty of art to me, right? Is where you can express an old idea in a profound way, even if not profound, like extremely clever. Like I love that. That's just a very
yeah.
clever way of saying that. And again, it's why I love Billy Joel's songs so much.
Yeah. If you're into lyricism, even if I would really do a deep dive into this band, even if you don't like their sound, even if you were to just pull up the lyrics to their songs
Yeah,
and just read them as if they're poetry, I really think that you would love
yeah,
how this man is an absolute wordsmith.
yeah. I found a
The
lot of
way
great bands from the show Scrubs. They did.
Oh yeah.
First of all, I love the show, but they did a lot of acoustic guitar-driven music in the background of their stories, and especially the sad songs. I found some great artists, and some artists that I knew, but I didn't know about their new work, like Colin Hay, who was with Men at Work, which we all, the older folks know
Oh, yeah.
from Land Down Under in the '80s. But he wrote a song later on about, like, the Book of Life and all this other shit. And I loved it so much I sent it to my ex-wife. I was like, oh, this is us, so I love that stuff. I love discovering new artists.
I love when the words I I have a particular love for people who are wordsmiths. I consider myself one at times, but the way that choosing a word actually gets people's minds working into action to just consume and really digest these like really edible words and concepts
Hmm.
all over again, even if it's a recycled idea, but it's presented in a new way. That just makes me so excited. And like for
You
me,
should
Florence,
definitely look up this
I,
band
I
then.
will. Florence and the Machine. Oh,
Oh yeah.
what the water gave me. That song. Just, I mean, it'll bring me to my knees.
The song Edmund Fitzgerald was written by Gordon Lightfoot,
Yeah,
the Canadian.
written and
And it
performed by
was
him.
a
Yeah,
story about a ship that went down on Lake Superior.
yeah, the year
Tragic
before.
story.
Yeah,
And
it's an
and I
amazing song.
being a
November
child of the
10th,
70s,
1975.
I watched that story unfold on the national news every single night during that winter. It was a tragic story.
Vicky, you mentioned, I think you were going for Sons of Leon or Sons of Legion. I'm sorry, Kings of Leon.
Kings of Leon. That's
Kings
a
of Leon.
yeah. That's a like a mid 2000s band.
I love one of their songs. When I play this one song of theirs, Use Somebody, I will almost always play it 20 times in a row because I fucking love
Me
that
too. I
song.
love that song.
Oh my
It's
God.
such a great song.
And so I first learned of them because of, I think it was Saturday Night Live or something. And they played that song and I was like, God damn, that's an amazing song. But there's so many songs that just have impacted me over the years. Like Chris Cornell, when he went solo and he wrote Can't Change Me, that is one of the most amazing rock songs ever created. And I'm also a sucker for rock ballads. I love those.
Oh yeah. I don't know why I was sitting there trying to type. I'm half asleep. But no, it was Sons of Legion.
It is Sons of
They
Legion. Okay.
Yeah, they are relatively new. It's this dude named Adam, I think, and this other guy named, he goes by the name Daddy, which is really bizarre, but their harmonies are so phenomenal. And this one song called Carolina, it
Okay,
gives me goosebumps every time I hear it.
Carolina. All right, that's going on the save to watch later list. We have another guest, Jacqueline. How you doing?
Hey,
Hello. What's
how you
happening?
doing?
I'm excellent. I'm excellent. I don't know. I think you just got here shortly, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the question up top, we're talking about all sorts of stuff. We drifted off into the subject of music, which I'm glad we did because I've learned about a few new artists, or new to me anyway. And but the question refers to the title. You at 15. What at your age now? If you could travel back in time to your 15-year-old self, what would you tell that person? What advice would you give yourself?
Can I think about it? Like when you
Sure,
guys chat and then. Sorry.
sure.
Everybody thinks about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's no rules and you have nothing to lose. So yeah, that used somebody's song. What there's one lyric in particular that I love, and I gotta find it. Uh, okay, let's get it. Thing.
Check out uh, not just the Four Non Blondes, but check out Linda Perry.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Linda.
By the way,
Perry.
she's the one that brought us Pink.
Yes, and
Mhm.
check out a song. It was not released on an album. It was a song called "In My Dreams." Just YouTube that and watch that video. It's amazing.
Steven, was it you who was talking about Haley Williams?
Oh yeah.
Have you seen her live performance that she did of All I Wanted Was You? I think it was at Bonnaroo.
Yes.
Phenomenal. Just
I
phenomenal.
mean, she really. I mean, she has the respect of all different types of communities, especially the ones who are very good at assessing vocal talents.
Hmm.
And she's just like she's otherworldly. Like she's like for me like in the world of like Florence Welch and all of these other types of women who like can really do raw. Uh, who was it? M. Williams, you were saying earlier, Wilson from
And
Heart.
listen,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, Haley Williams. There's so few women I like truly just will be a fan of for multiple decades at a time, and she's just one of them, man. She's got the pipes.
And
Yeah.
she's
How many
like
people?
teeny tiny.
How many people here have heard of Shamika Copeland?
Not
I
me.
can't say
I have not.
Okay, check her out. I got to tell y'all, I have 227 CDs in my CD player. It's a 300 CD changer, and I am going to
Damn.
get 300 CDs in that motherfucker.
Mhm.
I'm a wealth of useless musical information.
Well, then you need to play Trivial Pursuit with us on Fridays.
Mhm.
Oh, yes, I do.
So
The new
that was
cards are coming.
Shamika Copeland.
Shamika Copeland.
Got it. Okay. Any particular song
I've
you
yet to
recommend?
be-
I think I saw her. I think I've seen her. But I'll just take
And
the
I
top
got to
one
tell
that I
you
see.
that my favorite all-time female vocalist is Ella Fitzgerald.
Oh yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good one.
I liked Ella. I never was a fan of scat music, so she kind of lost me there. But she did in that era. I would say for me it was Billie Holiday. Like if you get that last album of hers, you can hear her passing away as she sings. It's that's the only way I could describe it. Like you could just hear that she was giving her life energy to the music.
And two, just like the feeling that it invokes, you can feel how heartfelt and you like sorrowful, and just the tone of some of her music is just gorgeous. It's so rich and velvety, in my opinion.
I agree.
Every single blues artist does that. They give you their life.
Yeah, sometimes I feel it more than others. Like I'll tell you what, I was never a fan of Frank Sinatra's. However, right after he broke up with the love of his life, or they broke up, Ava Gardner, who he took care of for the rest of his life, by the way, um, he recorded In the Wee Small Hours, and you can hear every cell of his heartache in that album. It's amazing. It's the only Sinatra album that I own because I'm drawn to an artist's ability to take pain and suffering and make beautiful art from it. That's why I love The Nylon Curtain by Billy Joel. Because after, he sang Just the Way You Are to the woman that wound up divorcing him. And then after they got divorced, he sang, he made The Nylon Curtain, which does not sound like any other Billy Joel album at all and is amazing.
So I was a huge fan of the Glass House album. That was like Billy Joel,
Great
one
album.
of his first.
Yeah, great album. Yeah, I go back to
Can I
the
read you guys a
Stranger.
lyric?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Lily
Oh, sorry.
Allen was very, she was very diverse, and there was one album, I don't know which one it was, that she wrote right after she lost her baby,
Mm.
and it was very different from the others, and you could hear the depth of her pain.
And how do you even do that? How do you go through something like that and find a way to channel it into art? That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's what
Uh,
blues music is, man. It's art. These are people pouring out their feelings, and it just comes out as art.
Can I read you? Speaking to that exact subject, can I read you some of my favorite lyrics ever written by Florence Welch? She's literally my goddess of lyrics.
Fire
So
away.
there's this song, it's on a lesser known album. I forget the name of the album exactly. It came out in 2018. The song's called "A Sky Full of Song," and it's about a friend of hers that was lost to addiction and like just a life that came unraveled. And these are my favorite lyrics. Grab me by my ankles. I've been flying for too long. I couldn't hide from the thunder in a sky full of song. And I want you so badly, but you could be anyone. I couldn't hide from the thunder in a sky full of song. And it's all about like how he was consumed by his vices, and and the lyrics that actually Yoda that you made me think of is the verse that comes before it, and it goes, "And I was screaming at my father, and you were screaming at me. I I can feel your anger from way across the sea, and I was kissing strangers. I was causing such a scene. Oh, the heart, it hides such unimaginable things." And like it's like I think one of the most profound songs and albums like she's ever done. It wasn't
Yeah.
as critically acclaimed as her first two, but the poetry in this album is just like so unmatched from the rest of her discography.
Yeah, I love it. That's a very poetic way of expressing that kind of feeling, which that impresses the hell out of me. Stevie Ray Vaughan was like that with his guitar playing. Like he covered Little Wing from Hendrix, but he did it without the lyrics, right? It's the greatest guitar piece I've ever heard in my life. I think Stevie left us way too early, but he was not a musician to me. He was music. I describe him as a perfectly tuned instrument who plays the guitar. Like everything that he thought, every note that he thought just went flawlessly through his fingers. And he was an unbelievably aggressive guitar player, so much so that he used to cut his fingers up while he played
Are you talking
live.
about Stevie Ray Vaughan?
Yeah.
I played Stevie Ray Vaughan when I was in labor in the delivery room.
Oh,
Like
wow.
because like my son had stopped like being as active and wasn't shifting into position, so I like to kind of distract myself, I like put on Stevie Ray Vaughan and like put headphones on the belly to get him to like move around and
Nice.
whatnot. But yeah, I grew up with Stevie Ray Vaughan. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan.
I was so sad
Texas
when he went.
Flood.
Yeah, Texas Flood is amazing, and luckily his brother still, carries his torch for him and all that. So that's cool. Speaking of which, I don't know how this happened. This dude has been around. He's in his 50s now, and I just learned yesterday of him. But Jim Croce had a son, and his son sings as well, and his son's life has been brutal. His father passed away right before he turned 2. His mother dated a man that beat him so badly that he lost his sight for years, and he's regained most of it. And he refused to sing his father's songs until he turned 50. And then he started singing them, and it's amazing to hear him cover his father's songs. And in an interview, he explained that the song "Time in a Bottle," which I've quoted many times, is written about him. That song, his father wrote that song for him, and now he performs that song live. How amazing is that?
That sounds like Jim Croce.
Yeah, I said, Jim
There
Croce.
was.
Yep.
Yeah, Jessica, when you mentioned that about your son when you were in labor, that reminded me. My daughter was born premature and had to have multiple operations, and when she would get fussy in the NICU, the nurses would. I had this Walkman in there, and they would just set the headphones on top, beside her, because she was tiny. She was premature and tiny. So they would just set it and they would just press play. They didn't know, they thought they were playing lullabies.
Mhm.
It was actually Dark Side of the Moon.
Ah,
Nice.
Pink
I
Floyd.
listened to
What an
that
amazing album that
every
is.
day.
That
Oh, I
that
know. I
is the
listened
greatest
to it.
album in the history of rock and roll.
Yeah, it spent more
Yes.
time in the charts than any other album.
Yeah,
I
we
had
lived out of town, and so we drove. That was like our driving song, because there was like no radio between where we lived and Austin, and so it was just like that was my chill music. And so I guess whenever I chilled, it triggered something in her. So that was her chill music,
Nice.
Yeah,
just like the
I
other
think I
was
have
to
my.
make your son hype.
Someone said, I think I have. Was that you, Jacqueline?
Yeah.
Okay, I can barely hear
Yeah,
you now.
sorry.
There you are. So, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying I think I have the beginnings of an answer.
All right, let's do it.
Well, first, I think I would just give my 15-year-old self a big hug. And tell her that I know it sucks right now, but don't be afraid to tell people. Because you have to. You have to tell people. I mean, that's where I would start.
That's excellent advice. Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a few things, but way down on the list somewhere is where I turn to my 15-year-old self and say, don't worry, you're going to get laid a lot. Because for
Yeah,
men, since we're usually the pursuers in a hetero environment, there's a lot of failure, there's a lot of rejection, and as I got older and understood women better, it became very easy for me. So by the time I got into my 40s, because I got divorced when I was right before I turned 46, and I went on a spree, and it was delightful. And it was so easy, especially because I started using dating sites. And I was like, this is the easiest shit in the world. I didn't know that people hate dating sites because they're hard. I had an easy time of it. It was years later that I heard someone say, oh, those dating sites are awful. I never find. I was like, are you kidding? Every time I go on there, I find another one. This is fantastic for me.
By the time that I was 15, I had already been pursued multiple times by older men.
I
Yeah,
feel like
unfortunately, that's not unusual.
Yeah, I think that I got, which I mean, catcalling still happens even as an adult, but I got catcalled and hit on by grown men more from the ages of 11 to 16 than I ever did as an adult.
Yeah, that's just horrifying, men.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, Jessica, you'll understand that sometimes it went beyond catcalling.
Yeah.
And that's what I was dealing with at that age. And it was my brother-in-law at the time. And then, it just felt like the cards were stacked against me. Like, no matter where I went, it was just like either nobody believed me, or he's like this, the whole rhetoric of well, he's such a good guy, and he's an upstanding,
Good old boy system.
Yeah, and like I won't deny that I was severely depressed, and I don't know. I don't know.
It wasn't your fault.
Well, see, that's what I was taught. I was taught that it was my fault.
Yeah.
Well, that's the dysfunction of the American society. Part of a bigger picture. I was having a conversation yesterday about a woman who, as an adult, was abused by a man, and the ridiculous circumstances of no one coming to her aid, including the police. And that's just a dysfunction of America. It's ridiculous that this kind of thing goes on. Thank you, AC.
When
Thank you, AC.
who
Oh man, thanks, AC.
Shiz. AC, what are you doing? What are you doing?
He's the leader of our clan, and he's the one that brought us all together. And Danny is among the people that I got to meet through AC. And if you're not following AC, you're wasting your fucking time. Follow his lives; they're excellent. Follow his posts. He is fighting the good fight to do his best to preserve some semblance of sanity in America, and he's really putting in the work. Like, some of his lives is him dialing senators and congresspeople in real time. So he's a righteous dude.
I was there for that on this past Saturday, and I got to tell you, you need to be there. It's fantastic.
I think it was Jessica that said part in a song where the fury you have now will not bring back the glory of innocence, I think.
It's no amount of self-sought fury will bring back the glory of innocence.
That part. That part.
Yeah.
So much that part. I was like, oh man. I don't think my my brain was ready for that. Because yes, that. Like I've been preyed upon since I was about 3. That's been the reality of my life, and it hasn't stopped, or it didn't stop up until I met my husband,
Wow.
right, which was about 7 years ago. And I mean, if you want to piss me off, go after or do something stupid to children or animals, and I will have you by the cojones, and you will not survive.
Yeah. Well,
You
that's
will
why I'm
not.
so disappointed by the 36 million people who said even if Dump
Yes.
was convicted of being a PDF file, they would still support him. That's
Imagine how
that's
much
ten
different.
percent of the population that was willing to admit that publicly, and I say kick them off the team. They're not part of
Yeah.
this anymore.
Imagine how much different the world would be if we would just fucking believe women and girls.
That part.
Imagine how, statistically, I think it's only like 2 out of every 100 assaulters ever face a day in jail.
And out of those,
And that's just the ones that are reported. And we know that the majority of assaults that happen are not reported to the police. And it's
because it's
because,
terrifying.
they don't believe us, or we have to go through all of this shit and relive all of it just to be critiqued on what we did wrong.
Re-traumatized.
A few years ago, I did a podcast. It was a weekly show revolving around news and current events and stuff like that. And it was with 4 older guys, broadcasters from Chicago who had combined 150 years of experience in broadcasting. So I was thrilled to be amongst these guys. And the conversation came around to Bill Cosby, and they were defending him, and I was like, this is disgusting. And I thought maybe they were just backing one of their race, which is not a good reason to do that, because I think Cosby is a disgusting human being. But then it came around to Cuomo a couple weeks later, and they were defending him. And that's when I said, yeah, I can't be part of this podcast anymore, because I'm not going to defend assaulters. That's just not my fucking thing,
Yeah.
Oh,
And
really?
that's-
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say it sucks whenever it feels like the system itself is against us. And I understand burden of proof. I understand innocent until proven guilty. But at the same time, you can have those things without victim blaming. And I feel like
100%.
victim blaming is such a big thing. And there's a couple of people that are in the room that kind of know a little bit of my history, and I'm not going to get up here and trauma dump, but with my ex-husband, he was very good friends with a lot of the police force in the town that we lived in. So whenever I tried to seek help and make reports and everything of that nature, magically there was absolutely no paper trail. And I don't know, I really wish that the oh, he's a good guy, oh, good old boy system just didn't fucking exist, and that we would just believe women.
By the way, A, absolutely 100%. And B, I went through that with my mother. Everybody telling me how good a mother she was. And I was like, I wish someone would fucking ask me that question, because I have a different story, and I think I know her better than all of you. Right? And because she was a terrible mother. And it took me until I was 50 years old to repair the damage that she did to me. And it was all emotional damage. And it's like, all these people constantly telling me, oh, what a good mother you have. And I'm like, who the fuck are you talking about? Not this chick. I know her, and she's terrible. but I didn't have the wherewithal to say that at that time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that part.
I believe right now the current statistics are something like 2 out of every 3 women have faced some sort of abuse, be it physical or,
Hmm.
sexual in their lifetime, and that those numbers are just
It's
unreal.
astonishing,
I'm
and
one of
it just
those
it just
two.
speaks to the dysfunction of America. It's a shitty country, and these
Yeah.
reasons that don't get spoken about enough are why I say it's a shitty country.
Sure. It's like, how many accusations do you need before people start thinking there might be some validity to this?
Apparently,
Apparently,
26 is not the number, because there's
yeah, apparently
26
I was
women
gonna
that
say,
accused him, and
apparently
it's
not.
like, when do you, there's a saying that I live with: if enough people call you a horse, it's time to buy a saddle. And it's like, you've had literally dozens of accusations, and again, not counting the people that weren't willing to come forward and accuse him. So it's probably 100 women.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because my abuser was a city alderman. Granted, it was a smaller town, but there was no way I was going to do that.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to be run through the ringer, so I just sulked away and came home. I filed a report with my local sheriff, but he said he couldn't do anything.
It's such a
Yeah.
horrifying disservice.
That part, Vicky. That, like, my brother-in-law did not get any sort of punishment because of what he did to me. He got punishment because he murdered somebody. I
Wow.
was terrified of this person.
I literally said this earlier on a podcast with Caress, the People's Sick Day. And I said, to me, assaulting a child in that way is worse than ending their life. Because when you end someone's life, you end all their troubles. But when you assault a child that way, you begin a lifetime of trouble. And because I can coach people through that because I have, but it takes a lot of work to recover from something like that. And some people never do. Some people are traumatized for their entire fucking lives. That's why I have no tolerance for that shit. And that's why I'm disappointed in America for supporting that kind of shit.
I learned at a very early age that the only person that I can count on is myself.
Yeah.
And even then, I can't count on myself because I was a kid,
Right.
right? Like, right after my brother-in-law, it was a 48-year-old man. And he came in saying, I'll protect you and you'll be safe. That I had no... I'm sorry, should I not talk about this? Should I stop?
It's up to you. If you want to talk about it, feel free.
It's okay
I
to
just-
talk about it. Hey, I was sexually assaulted in my church when I
Easy,
was
easy.
12
You got to avoid that word.
Yeah, well, that's the reality.
I understand, but TikTok has its own reality, and I want my life to stay up.
It happened to me when I was 12 years old in a church by a man. So
Yeah, that's why it sickens me when these racists bend over backwards to pin everything on brown people, and it's like, look at the fucking stats. They paint a
Yeah.
different story, okay? Like when Timothy McVeigh, blue-eyed, blonde-haired Christian, sent 168 people off the planet, where was the talk of the wall for him and his type of person? When
Including
the
children.
FBI says that your group is a threat to society, and it's all because you're white tea people that hate BLK people, like, why do you keep blaming us for your shit?
look at all the churches Black American churches from the 1930s all the way to present day that have been bombed, firebombed, assaulted, uh, shootings in
Easy,
black
easy.
patron
Again,
businesses.
we got to be careful of
We
our
can go
language on
on
TikTok.
and on and on.
Yeah, I mean, look, the history of that, I mean, entire towns were leveled by YT people just because they were successful for minorities. So,
Yeah, yeah. And then they
I
want to
really
accuse us of being the ones who hate. They want to accuse us of being the ones who are violent.
yeah.
Here's my question. This is the question that I've asked repeatedly. How many? What is an acceptable number of unarmed, dead Black Americans before people are allowed to fight back?
0.
Yeah, well, there doesn't seem
What's
to be
the,
an answer to that question.
what's the acceptable number?
I don't think
When
there is one. I don't think America cares about that. I know America hates me. That's something that I just accept as reality.
No, America doesn't hate you. White supremacist America hates you.
Yeah,
The rest
that's
of us
America. That's America.
can live with you.
Listen. The distinction is useless, and I'll tell you why. And I'm going to use Muhammad Ali's words. If there's 1,000 snakes heading at me, I'm not going to try to figure out which one's not going to bite me. Okay? I'm just going to assume they're all snakes. And it's okay. And you can gain my trust as an individual, but as a society, America is racist as fuck and always has been.
Well, given our history, I cannot blame you for taking that position.
It's built into the very foundation of our country. Like how it operates even to this day. It's interwoven into our policies.
Yeah.
Or, we still see discrimination. It was only
Everywhere.
last year that they finally said that protective hairstyles were okay in the military. I mean,
Yeah.
it's when even your own natural hairstyle is prohibited by the United States military that you're signing up to serve for, to fight for freedoms and fight for your country, and yet that country and won't even allow you the freedom of a protective hairstyle.
After
It's not
World
even
War One,
hairstyle.
minorities that were coming home from defending America were pulled off buses and strung up.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter,
Hairstyle, it's your sexual preference, your sexual identity,
Schmexual.
all of that.
I have to drop you because you keep saying the TikTok words that'll get my live taken down. Nothing personal. It's just I like my live.
Yoda, I really appreciate you. Like, one, you just have a soothing voice, so it's just like, okay.
Thank you. It's
I'm not
Hollywood
gonna get
magic,
yelled
but
at.
thank you.
It's Hollywood. Whatever. It's real magic. I don't know.
But
I
I
know, like-
appreciate that though. I actually work hard to make my voice sound good, so thank you.
You're welcome. It's gonna take me the rest of my life, but I'm actively deconstructing my pale complexion. Actively. And I
Yeah, I mean, you're
screw
ahead of
up
the game. You're
so
ahead of the game. It's like, in 1987, I started my recovery, and so it's 12/26. It's the third officially, so I now have 38 years clean and sober, and I only reference that because
Fantastic.
Congratulations.
thank you. The main thing that they tell you is that the 12 steps start with, first you have to acknowledge and admit that there's an issue. That sets up the foundation for the other 11 steps. Without that, you have nothing. So the fact that you're even thinking about what your place in society means and how it's different than my place in society, you're already way ahead of the game. There are still people in denial about this. So, if you keep talking about racism, it won't go away. It's like, really? So, like, if you stop talking about cancer, does it magically go away? You fucking idiot.
Right.
You
I
know?
love. I'm gonna use that. I will give you credit where credit
Thank
is
you.
due.
Only 3 times and then it's yours. But
Only
but
3 times.
but really, my thing is like, if you're sick of hearing about racism, have I got news for you of what living with it is like?
Yeah, and my first case that I looked into was Emmett Till.
Oh, heartbreaking.
That was a really rough place to start.
Yeah,
Not gonna lie. And
yeah.
and then I followed it all the way to what was it, like 2 or 3 years ago, when the words use good words, Jack. Um, where the lady passed away,
And
and I'm
right
like, are
before
you
she did, she finally admitted that Emmett Till didn't do the thing that she had
Right.
accused him of.
Right.
What is that
So
And what was he,
nonsense?
14, 15, something like that?
yeah,
He
yeah.
was 14.
Yeah. Just
And
horrifying.
also, like, the strength of his mother.
Yeah.
Oh dear
How,
God.
like, as a mother, to not only, obviously see your child that way, but then to have an open viewing so that everyone would know and everyone would see it. Because I know, like, as a mother, your first instinct is to protect your child, and the instincts to not let people see your baby like that must have been overwhelming. And for her to fight against that so that people would know what was done to
For the
him, that
greater
is a
good.
strength I can't even begin to comprehend.
Yeah. Just putting yourself, it's what did they say in Star Trek, right? The many versus the one and all that stuff. And like,
Yeah.
that was a woman who realized that she had an opportunity to communicate something very important to the world, and to put her selfish needs aside, her perfectly understandable selfish needs. That's tremendous.
And the thing about, like, obviously I'm constantly learning and I'm constantly unlearning, then relearning, right? Because, like, it feels like every step forward I take, I'm taking 2 steps back, because there's just so much entrenched and saturated in the way we are raised, the way we're taught, both directly and indirectly. So, given the experiences that I have endured, that I've just told you guys, if I were not whitey, I would be unalived. Yeah, I would be done.
Yeah.
That's it. Because what I went through, people of color and minorities and just like everybody that isn't whitey experience it, I don't even know, like 1,000, 10,000 times fold. Like, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
why?
I describe it as living in enemy territory 24 hours a day. And look,
Yes.
I want to make it clear, I don't walk around angry, I don't walk around wounded, but I know where I live. And I'm just a realist about that, And I didn't choose to
are
come
aware.
here. I was brought here, right? And I live here, and people that I love live here, but I've never been fooled by the propaganda, because I always saw the reality of this place. Always. They couldn't fool me in school, and they've never been able to fool me since.
Yeah, and I really appreciate being able to have a conversation like this with you, who is a man, because I work in a male dominated vocation. I am a carpenter apprentice, right?
Wow. Nice.
I am hundreds of miles away from home for weeks and months at a time, with no other woman in sight. It is just me.
Wow.
And when you guys were talking about the election, that was probably one of the worst moments in my life, because I'm surrounded by these guys who are like, yeah, Trump, woo, and I'm like, I want to vomit. And meanwhile, they're eyeballing me and side-eyeing me, and I do everything that I can to make sure that I am not a target.
Yeah.
because unfortunately there are known not great people, men,
Yeah.
within my work, and they're
Yeah.
known and they're allowed to get away with stuff. So I have to come down to the conclusion of, well, if I have to defend myself, how am I going to do it?
Yeah, I mean, this is why I have said many times that minorities have the easiest access to understanding what women go through in society, because we go through it in a different way. But it's the same awareness that you have to have, the same sensibility, and the same stress, unfortunately. You know, like,
Yeah.
you know, when I got pulled over by a police officer, I always had to wonder if this was going to be the last few moments of my life. And, you know, when as a woman, you are faced with that kind of feeling very often. And, you know, that was my bridge to understanding women better, you know, and a society that does that to anybody is a broken society.
Yep.
There's it reminds me of there's a movie, it's on Netflix. The name escapes me, but it's based off of a true story about, you know, the serial unaliver who went on the game show. I believe it was the 70s. And it's the lady Anna something who does Pitch Perfect. She's the one who directed it. Yes, Woman of the Hour.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Woman of the Hour, it's
Um,
called?
Yes, it's called Woman of the Hour. It follows the victims of this man, and it really highlights, it's so unsettling for any woman to watch, because what it highlights isn't, you know, the gore of the act, but more so that feeling of dread when they know. It's that moment of realization when they know what's going to happen and that they're unsafe. And it's so artfully done, and it really, really highlights that moment and that fear that you have as a woman when you know that you're about to be attacked.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a really
don't.
powerful film.
Yeah, that I now have it saved. I'm going to watch that. But I have some film trivia for you that is along similar lines. This is a film I never saw, which is The Exorcist. But there's a famous film where I believe a male nurse does some kind of thing where he taps into her vein on her neck, and apparently there's squirting everywhere, right? Anybody see that film?
Mm-mm.
No, nobody here
No.
saw that.
Not ringing.
Anyway, the person who played that male nurse was later discovered to be a serial blah blah blah.
No, he was
Wow.
an angel of unaliving, one of those.
Something, yeah. But I mean, that's wild. That's just wild shit.
That's crazy.
Oh man, there's enough scary in my life. I don't need any more.
Yeah, I feel
I
you.
don't need.
That's how I felt about Jaws. I saw Jaws when I was like 13, and it scared the bejesus out of me. To this day, I don't swim in the ocean because of that film. And when I go to the ocean, which is rare, but when I go, I wear my water shoes, and I literally don't go in past the water covering my water shoes. So what, 2-3 inches of water? That's as brave as I am. And what's wild was that about 20 or so years after I saw the film, I found out that Jaws was based on a true story.
No, stop.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah,
Was it
it was.
did not-
1936,
Did
right?
not know that.
No, it was like 1916 in New Jersey,
Okay. Okay.
and it was actually in fresh water. But a great white got into fresh water and for a week terrorized a bunch of people. One person was eaten by the shark at a party, and other people basically ignored the sounds because they just thought, oh, they're drunk, right? But yeah, can you
Yep.
imagine? I'm so glad I didn't know it was a true story when I was 13. That would have fucked me up completely.
Oh my god.
I would have been
It
afraid to
would've
take a
been-
bath.
But yeah, I really appreciate everything that you guys have had to say, because when I work, I'm usually in the middle of nowhere, Alaska, just trying to build buildings. Right? Like I'm there to work, I'm there to learn, and I'm there to
Yeah.
get paid.
Nice.
Maybe eat something, maybe go to bed, you know. But like, just like you were saying, Yoda, you are very explicitly aware of the world you live in. And I know the guys that I work with, they're all about power. They're all about intimidation, domination. That is like what gets them off, right? And what better way to do that than for a little 5 foot nothing little girl, as they call me, which I'm not, I'm a woman, thank you.
Well, the problem is that they're not men.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Sorry, I saw a comment. Hello, Alaskan friend, we should meet.
There you go.
We should, I mean, not meet, that's weird. I shouldn't. I'm also an awkward dragon that just descends upon people, so ignore me.
Well, you know, I am I'm an alpha male that generally makes other alpha males nervous. And again, I'm this is from feedback that I've been given. This was never a conscious decision on my part. I'm a fairly big dude, not huge or anything, because my best friend is 6'5", and I feel like a baby standing next to him. But people describe me as big man a lot, right? So I know I'm physically kind of imposing, and I have a severe resting bitch face. But I reserve all of my male dominating energy for other men, because that's what I think it's there for. It's there to establish the pecking order. It's there, you know, men have their own rituals and weird social things that
Yep.
they do. And that's where it belongs. If you're applying that to a woman, you're a boy. You're not a man.
Yeah, and you know, again, I try to find women in the trades that are in the States, because there are so few of us here.
Yeah.
And with everything that's currently going on with the administration, they're trying to knock us down quickly so
Yeah.
that we don't have time to recoup. And I'm just like, no, not as far as, like, over my unalived body, you punks. But I met some women and actually got to speak with a woman who was a carpenter in the States for, like, I think 15 years, and then she became a business agent. And I was so excited, and I'm just so happy because I feel less alone. Because as well as being the only female most of the time on the job site, or only woman on the job site, when I try to go and connect with my fellow sisters, there's also internalized misogyny that I deal with. And they're like, well, if you can't beat them, join them. No! My face is up here, my guy. It's up here. Dang it. Anyway,
Yeah. No, I feel you. That, you know, it's that. This is what I mean. Whenever I say it's a dysfunctional society, there's 1,000 examples just like what we're talking about, and that's why I don't take my cues from society. You know, I am the kind of person that I want to be based on my own sensibility, because I'm not basing myself on this fucked up place, giving people
Yeah,
shitty advice,
seriously.
giving people, you know, disregarding the humanity in other people. I don't want any part of that. So I rise above that all the time. You know, my greatest triumph is never being part of this place. You know, I'm an
Yes.
observer. This is where I live, but I am not part of this. I do not refer to myself as an American. I just live here. And that's the best that they're ever going to get from me, because the way America is structured, it is clear that humanity and humanness is not valued here. And I value humanity too much to be part of that.
Thank you for putting that into words. That is
Right.
amazing. I am
Huh.
so happy that we had this conversation because I've been just rolling around inside my own mind, right? And I reach out and then I'll find people like AC or Sherry or Jessica today. You know, like
Well, it's necessary because look, when I was younger, I thought I was fucking crazy because nobody understood what the fuck I was talking about. It was only until I started listening to George Carlin that I was like, oh my God, somebody else thinks like I do and he's famous. This is great.
did you
Like
just
that.
say George Carlin?
Yeah. Yeah. He's my hero.
Yes.
He was my first hero. Danny is my second hero, who luckily I got to meet. But George Carlin was like my true real life hero. He never knew that. I never met him. I wish I had, so I could have told him that. But, you know, we all find what we need, and we all gravitate toward one another. This live is the way it is because we all have the same values. You know, I had a goofy idea for a topic today, but this is what very often happens in my life is that it goes all over the place, and I absolutely love that. And it goes to a place that's grounded in humanity, in love and care and support. So I'm glad you found this. I appreciate your input. It's absolutely been a pleasure to have you as part of the panel.
Yeah, I'm really glad that, you know, AC kind of like, hey, go raid Yoda's live, right? And
There you go.
I've seen you before.
Thank you.
Um
Yeah. Now AC is amazing.
and
I just can't say enough about him. But
he's like a good brother. Well,
I'm gonna
maybe
forego closing statements tonight because I'm hungry, because I'm fat, and so I'm just gonna thank all of the panel. You know, I just adore you. You know, I appreciate you. You breathe life into this every time I'm up here, and I can't thank you enough for that. And to the people in the chat, all your taps, all your gifts, all your comments, and most of all, your time. I don't take it for granted. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here, and I absolutely appreciate that. So, as always,
Thank you.
folks, peace,
Thanks, guys.
love, and granola. Have a great night.
You too.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.